Okay. Hello, Top Fan Rivalry followers. Welcome to YouTube. Welcome to episode 3 of Tiger Town Talks. And Harmony, of course, is on, and I'm on. We're going to do our best to interest you for the next 20 minutes or so. We'll see what we can get out of this. Harmony, how are you? How the heck are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent. Hall of Fame voting came in, and we know the answers to who's now on the Hall of Fame. And we're going to talk 80s Tigers baseball. So, Harvey, let's flip a coin. Which one do we want to do first?
Uh, let's go the 80s Tigers.
Perfect. Giddy up. As the woman says, we're going to talk 80s Tigers. So, Harmony and I do the show. Remember, for those of you that are listening to this, this is one of 10 different shows that Top Fan Rivalry does this year in the locker room. And Harmony, if they don't want to pay $58 and they want a 10% discount, are you going to give them a 10% discount?
Yes, use my code TigerTown, all caps, no spaces.
There you go. So if you do that, Harmony, just giving away my money, Harmony. That's okay though. I like you. I like you. Because I already know, that you love Stadium Food Girl shirt and that you're going to be purchasing a Stadium Food Girl shirt. So,
Yes.
anyways, all right, here we go. Tell me about, I looked up some incredible stats. I got them right here on the 80s Tigers. Tell me about it. What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about the team that won the World Series first.
84.
84. So
Yes.
that actually had I wanted to talk a little bit about Kurt Gibson because I know a lot of people remember him for his 1988.
Yeah, 88 home run with a in
Yep,
a year
with the
that has
Dodgers.
been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
Yeah, but I don't know if people really remember him. People my age,
Yeah.
I'm a millennial. I don't know if people really remember him as a Tiger.
What you trying to say? I was around in 84 for this season. Are you trying to call me old now?
No, I'm saying
Two.
I'm a
Now
millennial.
you're buying 2 shirts for Stadium Food Girl. You call me old again, and we'll just double that to 4. Just sign over your paycheck. Here we go.
You're not old. I'm 29, so I don't
Experienced.
remember.
I'm well experienced, I
You
guess.
are.
I'm vintage, Harmony. Anyways, talk about the 84 season. Talk about Kurt Gibson.
um he's a Tigers legend. People here love
Yes.
him, but I think people remember him more as a Dodger,
Mhm.
unless you're a Tigers fan. Um, so I was going back and watching footage of him as a Tiger, and he was just really good. He was
Yeah.
solid as a Tiger.
It's funny that you say that because there's a couple of players in history people remember for other clubs. They don't remember him for the club that. So most people don't know that Billy Buckner played a lot of his career as a Dodger and was an excellent left fielder, not a first baseman, a left fielder. But everybody remembers him as it gets by Buckner in the 86. Well, you don't remember because you're 29, but in the 86 World Series, Mets and Red Sox. And
Yeah.
so it gets by Buckner. And Kirk Gibson's the same thing. I mean, he had an iconic moment, which I'm sure you've watched on YouTube. But Goose Gossage does not want to walk him. Goose Gossage wants to just face him and show him, it was almost like the two wanted to say, let's see who's is bigger. And um, and Sparky Anderson's throwing sunflower seeds in his mouth saying, I don't want to walk you. And you don't understand it because sunflower seeds are flying everywhere out of the guy's mouth. And sure enough, Goose Gossage throws the pitch and Kirk Gibson deposits it's in the upper deck.
Yeah.
He's also from Michigan. He is also, I think he went to MSU, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
I mean,
and, go ahead.
Spartans.
Oh, there you are. Hey, listen, he's born and bred. And so, yeah, I mean, now, Harmony, something you may or may not know. Did you know that first of all, I have an uncle who's from Michigan, and his 3 kids love all Michigander sports. Like they're going
Ooh.
crazy about the Detroit Lions right now. And anyways, I don't know if you know this, but the Tigers started out 35-5 that season.
I did know that. I was looking up. Yeah,
Crazy, isn't
I
it?
know.
Like,
Yeah,
how do you win 35 out of 40 freaking games? And baseball is such a weird game. You usually don't see streaks like that because the ball will bounce all over the place or something or a bad call or I don't know, but it's whatever, right? So,
yeah.
but yeah, okay. Tell me some more things that you got from your notes from, 84 or elsewhere.
I want to talk a little bit about Lou Whitaker because I think a lot of people think he's a Hall of Fame snub.
Okay.
Um, I don't really looking at the numbers, I think he's borderline for me, a borderline Hall of Famer. I can see an argument for both. What do you think, Bill?
So I think he is. So in my book, so there's the Hall of Fame, there's the Hall of Very Good. You and I have talked about this. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
do a lady segment with the Hall of Very Good versus the Hall of Fame. Here's my problem is I look at players on their impact on the diamond and what you think about them as the impact players, like of their era, right? And you try to compare it against their era. Now, back in the days when they had the wax pack, things, it would be really hard not to get a Lou Whitaker card. In fact, I bought a Topps box, the whole box. You rip them open, everything like 80 or 30 packs or whatever. I must have like six Lou Whitakers in there. Like it's like every other pack had a Lou Whitaker in it.
Yeah.
But that being said, Lou Whitaker was very good. He was very good, and he and Alan Trammell. So I looked up some stats. The 80s Tigers won the division twice. Now back then you didn't have wild card, and back then you didn't have like several rounds of the playoffs. You had the championship series. You won your division, you played the
Yeah.
division winner of the other one, boom, off you went. 84 and 87 were the 2 years that they won the division. 88, they were 88 and 74, and they missed the playoffs by one game. They were in second place by one
Yep.
game. The 80s Tigers aren't that successful without Whitaker and Trammell. I say you put them in. But again, my ballot was a little different. They didn't, I was disappointed when they announced the Hall of Fame that they didn't include the top fan rivalry ballot. But hey,
Hey,
right?
um, do you think here's another question for you? Should
Hmm?
Kirk Gibson be in the Hall of Fame?
No,
Or is he Hall
I
very good?
no, yeah. He's the Hall of very good. I love Kirk Gibson, right? And you've heard me tell the story about me changing my ringtone
Mhm.
uh at my office. Like my CEO said we could use ringtones, and I used a ringtone, and it was Vince Scully calling Kirk Gibson's home run. But Kirk Gibson was very injury prone. And
Yeah.
so he like David Wright of the Mets, he had a lot of injury years. 88 was an injury year for him. He wasn't even supposed to be on the playoff roster.
No.
So yeah, no, yeah,
I think a lot of Tigers fans will fight you on that. I'm
of
not
course
one
they will.
to what?
Of course they will. Of course
I'm
they
not.
freaking will. I mean, Giants fans will fight me because they think Buster Posey should be what not only a Hall of Famer, but not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but a pre-first ballot Hall of Famer or whatever you can do. Like, yeah, I mean, people will fight me on that, but I'm also going to argue that there are a number of players like Don Mattingly and Dale Murphy and Steve Garvey. I'll fight anybody. Steve Garvey eh, or Senator Garvey, I'm sorry, or whatever we want to call him these days. I still think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's got almost 2,600 hits. He did it against pitchers like Nolan Ryan,
Yeah.
right? And so,
I'll
yeah,
fight you on Jeff Kemp being a Hall of Famer.
Jeff Kent
Ever.
is another, player that you can argue. So, yeah, I know Michiganders are going to kill me, and trust me, I used to live in Bay City. I lived in Gaylord. I lived in several places in Michigan. I know the Michiganders are going to want to like strangle me for this, but don't strangle me just yet.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Harmony, I found out some interesting statistics. I don't know if you knew this or not. Let me throw you a couple statistics. 1984, they finished 104 and 58. Best Tigers record ever.
Yeah.
Closest 1968, where they won 103 games. 1934, they won 101. 1915, they won 100. So only 4 times in Tigers history. Now, back in those days, you did not play every team. You played just the American League.
Yeah.
They only had 2 teams that they had a losing record against. They were 6-7 against Baltimore and 6-7 against Boston. Besides for that, they had a winning record against every other team. 1984. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can believe it.
So, so here's another interesting statistic. 1987, they win the division. They're 98-64. 1988, they miss the division. They're 88-74, and they miss it by 1 game. 1989, just a year later, they're 59-103.
Ugh,
Bye bye, Tigers. We'll forget about talking about you until
for a while.
2007 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Till
So,
Justin Verlander won Rookie of the Year.
Kate Upton.
Kate Upton.
Oh, that was pre-Kate Upton, but we'll call him pre-Kate Upton.
Pre-Kate Upton and post-Kate Upton.
Yeah, yeah.
Why
But
not?
by the way, it was funny. I was in Las Vegas for FanFest this last weekend, and we were watching the Bills game, the Bills Chiefs game. We were sitting in the sportsbook Mandalay Bay, and there's like 9 of us there, right?
Mhm.
And we made an over under. Like we didn't do a bet, obviously, but we did an over under. Um, Somebody that you don't know named Matt, and then Dodger Danny, we did an over under and set it at 13.5. You want to know what the bet was?
What?
How many times it showed Taylor Swift? And we lost track at 7. We weren't paying attention enough. But like every time Travis Kelce touched the ball, it was like Taylor Swift. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, Lord have mercy. This is
My
like the NFL's really struggling if that's their poster child.
Yeah, my favorite part was when Jason Kelsey was like celebrating and had his shirt off. It's like,
Did you see him jump into the crowd and security
yeah,
have to go around and everything like that? I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, you crazy dude, keep drinking. So, the 80s Tigers are amazing.
yeah,
But they were also in a situation too where they were really good sometimes. Had a number of second place finishes.
yeah,
But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of the 10 years of the decade, they only finished under 500 one time,
yeah,
which your friend Mikey and I were talking about the 90s Dodgers recently, and they finished under 500 like 6 times out of 10 years in the 90s.
yeah.
So,
What's he gonna do?
anyways, so let's talk about Hall of Fame real quick because I know we got a short show. I know we got a lot going on. Let's talk about Hall of Fame for a second. So, 80s Tigers, for the most part, were that team that you wanted to be around. They won 100 games in 104 games in 84, won a World Series championship. Now let's talk about Hall of Fame voting. Hall of Fame voting came in last night, and it was awesome to see. I mean, I felt like the announcement took forever, but
Yeah,
three people got in. Obviously, we got Todd Helton in, Joe Mauer, and Adrian Beltre. What are your thoughts about those people getting in?
so I'm happy for all three of them. Joe Mauer was a twin, not a fan.
Yeah, I, I'm picking up what you're laying down. I get it.
um, and then I'm happy for Adrian Beltre. I did not expect him to get 96% of the vote.
Yeah.
I thought he would just barely get it if he got it. And then Todd Helton, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. I think they definitely held that he played at Coors against him, but a lot of people said he should have got in, so he did finally get in.
Yeah. No, so I wasn't surprised about Adrian Beltre, over 3,000 hits. They had this weird tracker. So like unfortunately people kind of break protocol and they let you know who's scoring where basically. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like during elections where they do like polls and stuff like that. Um, at one point, Adrian Beltre had, I think there was like 76 or 78 ballots that were already in. And apparently he had like, or no, 40 some odd ballots. He had all, his name was on everyone. Um, I wasn't surprised about Adrian Beltre. He was fun for the game. Like, doing crazy things. Like there's a YouTube video that has Adrian Beltre funnyisms, and he slides into second base and he's got one hand on the base, and the defender puts his glove on the base, and Adrian puts his other hand down, the guy puts it over there and he moves his hand, and they do that like 4 times. It's hilarious.
I
There's
just
one
meant
time,
like the percentage part. I was
oh
surprised.
yeah. Well, that didn't surprise me either. Um, Todd Helton was pretty dominant for the Rockies. That's a hard team to be dominant for. Joe Mauer, I believe Joe Mauer deserves to be in. I just when you stack him up against first baseman, he's not there. When you stack him up against catchers, he is there. So I Deserving believes to get in. I'm glad he got in. First ballot, that I was a little surprised about, but yeah. Were there any snubs for you? Did you feel like there was any snubs?
Billy Wagner. Um,
5 votes.
I know. Gary Sheffield. I know that there's that cloud of steroids, but there's also like, did he actually take steroids?
Well,
Um,
Gary's hard because he wasn't always nice to people.
I mean, that's a different conversation for another day, but you have people from the olden days that were
Oh, you're not kidding.
um so
You're not kidding.
and then
So,
yeah,
who else?
we talked about this a little offline, but Matt Holliday I think actually had really good numbers and he fell off the ballot when someone like Chase Utley. Sorry, Bill, I know you like Chase Utley. I know there's a lot of Chase Utley fans. You guys can come in my DMs. I'm sure you will. Um, that will. I think he's Hall of very good, especially people around him had better numbers that are not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you know, Chase is going to be a hard one. Chase is going to be a really hard one. I was surprised Billy Wagner didn't get in. Billy Wagner was dominant as a
Yeah.
closer. When he was closing, he was freaking dominant. Okay. And so I like Billy Wagner. I was a little surprised that David Wright got past the minimum to get on for next season.
Yeah.
David Wright was such an injury prone player, but had he been able to play another 5 seasons and been healthy for the seasons that he played, he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer guy. No doubt in my mind. He had 242 home runs in his career and had like 19, just under 1,900 hits or something like that. No doubt in my mind, he plays another 5 seasons, and was healthy for the last 2 or 3 of his seasons. He would have had over 300 hits and probably 400 or 500 home runs. Um, but if you're going to let him in, there's a list of people that you and I talked about offline that need to get in first.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's
Actually, so I have like, you probably will think it's funny. I think it's hilarious. So I have a friend who we were talking about the Hall of Fame and we were talking about future Hall of Famers, Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, and Justin Verlander. And a friend of
who?
mine whose name I won't say,
Who?
uh,
Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, and who?
Kate Upton.
That's right.
And he said that Scherzer and Kate Upton are first ballot Hall of Famers, but Kershaw is not.
Good. That person doesn't understand Hall of Fame. Like, let them know that I said that. They can come on my show and defend themselves. That's fine. That's fine. I like. Are
I
you
was like,
kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, it's not even a Dodger thing.
yeah,
Kershaw was so dominant. He's got over 200 wins. You'll never see a guy again. Kate Upton's as close as we're going to get to 300 wins for a
yeah,
very long time.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever.
I was like, are you okay? All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Harmony, as we wrap this up, we covered 80s Tigers. We'll cover 90s Tigers. here soon, but we're going to cover 80s Tigers and 90s Tigers. We have to talk about Billy Chappell, right?
Ooh.
I
Hmm.
mean, don't we have to talk about Billy Chappell if we're talking about 90s Tigers?
Yes, we do.
And didn't he pitch a perfect game in Yankee Stadium?
Yes.
In the cathedral that is Yankee Stadium belongs to a chapel, right? And
Right.
so we'll have to talk about Billy Chappell and the 90s Tigers here next week for you. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Um, no, not really. The Tigers made a trade with the Orioles this week. They traded away a minor leaguer and got cash considerations back.
Nothing wrong with cash.
Nope.
Okay, so the final thing I'm going to ask you is this. I'm listening to this show. I think that I want to see more of you. And or I'm on this crazy website called TopFanRivalry, but I don't want to pay full price for something. How do I get a discount?
You can use my code TigerTown, all capital letters, no spaces, and you get 10% off.
Yay! All right, we did it for this week, Harmony. Stick around for a second. For you Top Fan Rivalry followers, this is episode 3. I hope you enjoy your Wednesday morning checking this out. We will have this up for you. We'll talk more about it. You guys are fantastic. And we'll have episode 4 for you next week. And off we go. Thanks, Harmony.
Bye, guys.